In today's lesson, we're going to look at how we can work backwards using some of the formulas that we've learned for finding the circumference and the area of a circle so that we can find the root information. So in this case, the diameter or the radius of that circle. And so for circumference, basically how to get circumference, we use the diameter. So what if we wanted to find out what the diameter is? We already knew what the circumference was. Well, right now, to get the circumference, we times it by pi. So if we divided this number by pi, then that should give us what the diameter is, sort of doing the opposite of what we did on this side. So if you had the circumference and you divided it by pi, then you would be left with the diameter. And let's see how that works in actual practice. So if I had a circle and we knew that the circumference of that circle was 25, let's say circumference is equal to 25.12 centimeters, how would I go about finding the diameter? Well, just as we showed you there, the diameter is equal to the circumference, 25.12. Oh, sorry. 25.12 divided by pi, which we'll say is 3.14. And if you get your calculator out and try that out, you'll find out that the diameter is going to be equal to 8 centimeters. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward, and I think with you've done this in other situations too, that if you normally are multiplying something to get a number, then if you divide that number by the same number, then you'd end up with the original measurement that you're looking for. But how is that going to work on this side with the area? The area is a little bit more complicated. So if we were looking for the radius, then you can see the radius is squared here, and then it's multiplied by pi to give us the area. So the easiest way to look at it, first of all, is to say, well, same sort of thing that we did over here. If I am looking for r squared, then all I'm going to do is take the area and divide that by pi. And that's so that's just using the exact same process that we used over here, just dividing being the opposite to multiplying. So if we had multiplied r squared by pi to get area, then if we divide the area by pi, then that should give us our r squared. But r squared isn't a useful number. That's not actually the radius. It's helpful. It can help us get to the radius, but it by itself is not actually the radius. So if we're looking for the actual value of r, we have to do what's the opposite to a square. And if you remember from the last section we worked on, a square root is the opposite to a square. So if we still did that area divided by pi, and then we square rooted that number, then that will bring us back to what the radius actually is. So let's look at an example for that one. So if we had a circle with an area that was equal to, say, 314 meters squared, because remember, area is a two-dimensional measurement, so it's always going to be meters squared. Now, how would we find our radius? So let's try using this little formula that we just came up with. So the radius is equal to the square root of 314 divided by pi. So 314 divided by pi, which as we know is 3.14. Hopefully you don't need your calculator for that, but if you do, you can use it. Either way, you're going to find out that 314 divided by 3.14 is going to leave us with 100. Okay, so now we've got r is equal to the square root of 100. So again, the square root of 100 by itself is not an easy measurement for us to understand, but it does give us the measurement if we just finish calculating it. So next, r is going to equal the square root of 100, which is just 10, because 10 times 10 gives us 100, so 10 squared gives us 100, so the square root of 100 is 10. And we are still talking in meters. Now, it's no longer meters squared because now we're down to radius, and radius is just a one-dimensional object, and that's why we square rooted it. So we don't need to put meters squared, it's just 10 meters. So a circle with 10 meters across will have an area of 314 meters squared, or sorry, I shouldn't say 10 meters across. I should say 10 meters from the center outward will give us an area of 314 meters squared. And a circle that is 8 centimeters across will give us a circumference of 25.12. So I hope this information has been useful and that you can use it to sort of work backwards when you're dealing with any sort of measurements on circles, including circumference, diameter, area, and radius.